Welcome to today's Explainer. You know, if you're a modern business leader trying to navigate this incredibly complex, fast-paced digital economy we're all living in, you probably know the feeling all too well. It's like you're carrying this immense weight, trying to streamline operations, drive growth, and somehow stay ahead of the curve. But let's be real, the path to sustainable growth, it isn't always crystal clear, especially when you're wrestling with massive enterprise systems. So today, we're exploring some genuinely fascinating insights from Rasta Infotech about what it really takes to elevate business transformation, and we're going to focus specifically on the absolutely vital role of the consultant in finance.
Which brings us to a huge question. What connects complex finance to modern technology? Because, let's face it, it is a massive gap. On one side, you've got the highly regulated, super precision-driven world of global finance, and on the other, cutting-edge, constantly evolving digital software architectures. So, who actually spans that divide? How do you make sure your technology actually understands your money? Finding the right bridge across this gap is literally the difference between the system that totally holds you back and one that propels you forward.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 4 key areas. First, the digital finance backbone. Second, challenges without expert guidance. Third, the strategic bridge. And finally, driving true business transformation.
Starting right off with part 1. The digital finance backbone. So in today's digital economy, sustainable growth doesn't just happen by accident, right? It relies entirely on 2 absolutely critical pillars: financial transparency and operational efficiency. You simply cannot scale if you can't clearly see your finances, and that is exactly where SAP FICO comes in. FICO stands for Financial Accounting and Controlling. It's the core module integrating finance with business processes to enable data-driven decisions. Think of it as the central nervous system of a modern enterprise. It's this massive central hub where all your financial data flows, making sure every single operational movement is tracked, accounted for, and analyzed.
But here's the catch. Just buying the software isn't enough. The source material highlights a really core philosophy from Rasta Infotech. To unlock real, tangible value from these massive ERP investments, you need a strategic partner. You don't just need a temporary technical resource to, plug in some code and walk away. You're making a huge investment in your company's future, and realizing the return on that investment, well, that requires someone who deeply understands the strategy behind the software.
Now, let's look at part 2, challenges without expert guidance.
What's really interesting about this concept is what happens when you move forward without that strategic partner. Basically, you expose your organization to some pretty severe operational and financial risks. The first major hurdle? Compliance. Global companies have to adhere to incredibly diverse tax laws, super strict IFRS and GAAP standards. If your financial system lacks expert configuration, all that complex financial compliance turns into massive critical risk. Literally, just a minor misconfiguration in how taxes are calculated across borders could lead to some major legal and financial penalties. Yikes.
And those headaches, they compound operationally. If your finance module doesn't seamlessly connect with things like materials management or sales, well, you get instant reporting delays. And let's be honest, you absolutely cannot steer a modern ship with yesterday's inaccurate data. It just doesn't work. Add in cost control struggles, where you literally can't track profitability accurately across regions, and then top it all off with the incredibly daunting hurdle of migrating legacy systems to S/4HANA Cloud architecture, a business can easily become completely paralyzed.
Which brings us to part 3, the strategic bridge.
So how do we actually solve these massive compliance risks and integration gaps? The answer is the SAP FICO Consultant. Rasta Infotech frames them beautifully, saying they are, quote, not just a technical expert, but a strategic partner who helps companies unlock value. I love that phrasing because it completely elevates their role from just writing code to actually intimately understanding your financial goals. They are that essential bridge spanning across those isolated islands of complex finance and modern tech.
In practice, this strategic bridge follows a very clear life cycle. First, they start by mapping your unique business processes directly to SAP configurations. Then comes the heavy lifting, expertly setting up modules like the general ledger and accounts payable, followed by highly sensitive data migration from your legacy systems. Ultimately, all of this builds toward real-time reporting and analytics for your CFO and decision makers, and it's all backed by thorough end-user training to make absolutely sure your team can maximize the system's true potential.
And finally, part 4. Driving true business transformation.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what it takes to drive that transformation. Rasta Infotech highlights a 3-part blend of expertise. First, you need technical mastery, obviously, to actually build the system. But you also need deep business acumen to understand the underlying financial logic driving the company. And crucially, this is a really interesting one, SEO-driven communication, meaning the ability to optimize and clearly communicate complex data across your organization's entire internal digital landscape. You absolutely need all three to truly leverage the software.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's a totally reframed view of the SAP FICO Consultant. They are, quite literally, a growth engine. A true strategic partner transforms SAP FICO from a simple, everyday compliance tool, or, just another IT headache, into a powerful, sustainable engine for business growth. They take raw technology and turn it into actual financial transparency and operational efficiency. It's a real game changer.
Which leaves us with this final thought for you to chew on. Take a look at your own organization right now. How optimized are your own financial operations, truly? Are your systems seamlessly talking to one another? Are you getting real-time, highly accurate dashboards that let you track profitability across every single region? Or are you struggling with integration gaps and compliance risks? Taking a moment to reflect on where your own systems stand today might just be the very first step toward your own business transformation. Thanks so much for joining me on today's Explainer, and remember, keep asking the right questions.